Welcome on into the Wolverine.com podcast. Clayton Safey here with Anthony Broom and Chris Ballas as we get you ready for Michigan against USC. We're recording a day early because of Big Ten basketball media days on Thursday, so it's Wednesday. If a wide receiver leaves the team or some breaking news comes between now and when this releases on Thursday, we apologize. That did also happen last week, even though we recorded on our normal day with Frederick Moore leaving the team. But regardless, we'll preview all things Michigan against USC. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, make sure to give us a like there. Let's get to 400 likes on this video. Subscribe to the channel as well. We got your press conferences from after the USC game coming out. We got the post-game show with Anthony and Ryan Van Bergen as well, and so much more on the YouTube channel. And head to the Wolverine.com. You can use the promo code UM1 right now for 2 months of access for just $1. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment here with your final score prediction for this game as well. Hopefully somebody nails it in the comments. Fellas, how's it going this morning?
Doing great, except for the shitty Tigers. And I got to take care of business this afternoon. So, man.
No, this comes out Thursday. So, Tarek School pitching tomorrow night. I'm fired up.
Exactly.
All right, whatever. Yeah, I will say that as of right now, I'm not very happy. But looking forward to a trip to California, get some sun. That's going to be fun. We'll see if the game is fun. It's going to be interesting. Guys, going to be fun to preview this one because I really – you want to have hope out there. It's tough to win out there. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
It'll be interesting. This is another one of those showdown games. Your 3 road games this early in the season. First half of the regular season officially closes out with this game this weekend. And it has a nice blend of the challenges that the first 2 games provided. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it all breaks down. Given that we are recording a day earlier than we normally do, there are still a few things I don't have a ton of conviction on in terms of how the game might go and some of these matchups. But this is a winnable game and one that, it seems like they've taken seriously with let's get out there on Thursday. Let's readjust. Let's acclimate. It's going to be a big test to show how mature this team is handling that cross-country trip and playing in a game that has massive ramifications on the rest of your season.
I just hope when they practice on Friday at the Bolt, they get to rub elbows with Ben Herbert and Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter and Steve Klinkscale and all those guys. Maybe Herb can give them a nice pump-up speech or whatever. But the Chargers also heading out to Miami that day to take on the Dolphins on Sunday. But Michigan will practice in L.A. on Friday, changing things up from their West Coast trip a year ago where they went out to Washington on Friday, kind of the normal day this year, heading out west on Thursday. Both teams here, 4-1 coming in. USC is coming off of a bye following what was a pretty disappointing, I would say, from their standpoint, loss to Illinois 34-32, had a late lead somehow, and then Illinois comes down, kicks a field goal to win it. But they have wins over Montana State, 73-13, Georgia Southern, 59-20. They came to the Midwest, won at Purdue, 33-17. And then the win that not a lot of people saw because of how late it was. It was pretty much in the middle of the night, 45-31 over Michigan State. And USC opens this one as a 2.5-point favorite. The spread is still there. Last I checked, at BetMGM, the over-under is 57.5. 12th ever meeting between Michigan and USC. 8 of the previous 11 have come at the Rose Bowl, but Michigan has won the 3 regular season contests, including the only other game that's been at the LA Coliseum between these two teams back in 1957. It was a 16-6 victory. And of course, the Wolverines won miraculously last year on a 2-minute drive of all running, except for a pass near the goal line when I didn't think they should have thrown the ball. Somehow, some way, 27-24. And now that leads us into this game. We're going to see a lot more Michigan USC. It's only the 12th ever, but there are going to be a lot more to come here in the years coming ahead. Lincoln Riley in his 4th season, kind of searching for one of those marquee wins. Brent Venables was doing the same thing. Matt Rule was doing the same thing at Nebraska. They couldn't get it. Venables got his against Michigan, but it's another opportunity for Michigan to kind of, send an opposing blue blood program into, disarray or identity crisis or whatever you want to call it.
Fourth season for Lincoln Riley. It's unbelievable how fast it goes now, guys. It's hard to believe that he's been there that long, but they're waiting for him to turn the corner here. And he's got a team of athletes. I wouldn't call him a good football team yet. I watched them against Illinois, but venue matters. And we've said that all along. You go to Illinois when you're coming from the West Coast, it's tough. We saw Washington struggle mightily with Maryland for 3 quarters before turning it on, or a half, and then coming back, going out there the other way. If you're an elite team, then you know what? You expect to win these games, right? Ohio State, Oregon have done it. Oregon going to Penn State, that's a huge win. Ohio State taking care of business at Washington and, pretty much handled them. It was there were some opportunities there for Washington, but that's what you expect a contender to do. So that's why I think we're going to find out what Michigan really is this weekend. Are they a contender? Are they a team that can go to USC against a team with good athletes, play a really good game, which is what it's going to take, and win there? We remember Penn State last year really got dominated for a good part of that game before coming back and beating USC in the second half. So, and ended up being a playoff team. So if Michigan wants to be a playoff team, if they are who they want to be, then they got to win this game, guys, and play well from the get-go. No slow starts. I think 3 of the 5 games, I think opponents have gone down and marched the field for a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, on the first drive. So come out with your A game right away. And I like that they're going out there Thursday. This is going to be a tough one. I'm going back and forth on what I feel about whether or not Michigan's going to win this game, and it seems to change by the hour.
I feel the same way about it. It challenges you. I think it challenges your maturity. Like I said before, having the discipline to not only put in a good week of practice, but then get on a flight a day early, get out there, get your bodies right, and kind of lock in. I think the body clock stuff is a little bit overstated when you go east to west, as opposed to going west to east. I think that they'll make that adjustment just fine, even with how they traveled out to Washington last year. I mean, they had a lead late in that game before they let it slip away, which was their own doing on the field than anything else. I don't think that had anything to do with when they got out there. But, Sherrone Moore had said they got out. He felt that they were a little bit groggy starting that game. So, it's all just going to be about how they lock in here, how they lock into the details. So much of it these last few weeks we've talked about with the Nebraska game, with the Wisconsin game, is that you were probably 2 or 3 plays in both of those games from really kind of putting your boots on their throat and walking out of there and getting your backups in there early. And the flip side of that is that you might have been a couple big plays in the Nebraska game specifically, where if you don't make the play that you did, it goes completely differently. So I think what Michigan brings into this game is kind of what Lincoln Riley and USC's kryptonite has been, in terms of the physicality in the trenches, the way that they run the football. This is a huge game for them, for USC, in terms of, hey, listen, we can hang with some of these rough and tumble Big Ten teams. And you look at their schedule too. They're going to go to Notre Dame next week, and they're going to play a game at Nebraska the week after that. They need this one, because if they don't win this one, it's not outside the realm of possibility that they're looking at a 4-game losing streak in the middle of the season. And that's not where anyone there thought Lincoln Riley would be in year 4 with that program. So a big challenge, I think, for Michigan. You find a way to win this game. You're not out of the college football playoff mix with a loss, but if you win this, you are completely in control of your own destiny the rest of the way. And that's, this is one of those pivot point games, and I'm excited to see it.
No doubt. And I think talking to Eric McKenney, who covers USC for We Are SC, our On3 site, he was saying the vibe of the fan base right now coming off the Illinois game, going into this stretch, is nervous. They feel like if they lose it and things go the way they did the last couple of years, you're going to end up 7-5, 8-4, like you did the last couple, coming off an 11-win season in Lincoln Riley's first year. But it's been disappointment after that. It's been, we were a few plays away last year. And I think they're kind of tired of hearing that. So huge game on both sides, sold out at the Coliseum. A lot of Michigan fans expected to be in attendance. Lincoln Riley maybe not as happy about that, or Sharon Moore's comment saying that it's sold out because it's Michigan, but Sharon Moore's right. They don't sell out most of their home games. They only sell out against the bigger brands. And last year it was Nebraska, Notre Dame, and Penn State were their sellouts. This year they haven't had a sellout until Michigan comes. So I think Sharon Moore is absolutely right about that. Let's talk about the Michigan offense heading into this game. Danton Lynn is the defensive coordinator for USC, who I'm a fan of in terms of what he's done and just kind of going back and looking at his career. He turned around the UCLA defense a couple years ago. He turned around USC's last year. They weren't a great defense, but they were 121st in scoring defense the year before, 56th last year. So you saw a lot of improvement. But, man, there's a lot of opportunities, I think, to move the football on this defense as well, especially in the run game. You saw Illinois do it, 171 yards, 4.9 yards per carry. Kind of ran it right at him. Physical run game. That Fagan, the running back for Illinois, is a big dude. And, they've kind of forced those guys to tackle over and over. And, I think Michigan showed it last year too, that USC, if they have to do that for 60 minutes, it's a challenge. You're probably going to break one or two. So I think that you can run the football a little bit on this team. And the secondary is not very good either. So I thought Michigan did a good job last week of getting some receivers going. Andrew Marsh, Donovan McCulley. If they can have some success through the air with Bryce Underwood as well, I think that they're going to have a chance to do that because of this secondary, which has been a little banged up for USC, but also has just not performed at a high level. You watch the Illinois game, trouble getting off blocks, trouble making tackles in space, trouble playing the ball. Michigan's got to prove they can do this against a good team, or score, get in the 30s if they need to, if the defense doesn't have their A game. Like, they got to be an offense that can win a game. They still have to prove that, but this could be a game where you have a chance to do that because of what I think some of the flaws are that USC has defensively.
Yeah, I do too, and I think they're faster on defense. I think that their edges, I think it's going to be a test for Michigan's tackles, and that's what worries me a little bit, because Andrew Sprague had his worst game in a Michigan uniform. It wasn't even close against Wisconsin. Those weren't speedy edges. Those were good edges, really good edges, not great edges. And I think that there are bigger tests to come, and I think going out there is going to be one of them. So how do you protect Bryce Underwood? What does Chip Lindsey do if things start to collapse early on the offensive line? How does he adjust? It was great seeing Donovan McCulley, and it was great seeing Andrew Marsh make some tough contested catches, guys. And I don't think that USC secondary is all that great, as we saw against Illinois. I don't think this USC defense is all that great, but it's going to be up to Michigan to come out and play the A game and have that mix that Chip Lindsey's been really, really good with the sequencing, in my opinion, with the exception of the Oklahoma game. And it sure seemed like Sharon Moore's hands were all over that one. They were talking about how they wanted to shorten the game. I don't want to see that this game. I don't need to see a track meet, guys, but I need to see them do what's been working all year. And that doesn't mean smash and running twice, passing, punting, whatever, trying to shorten the game. Play your game, see what happens. Trust your defense a little bit. And this is a USC offense that I'm sure we're going to talk about in a second here that's going to put up some points. Michigan's going to have to match them, and there are going to be some times that they have to answer. Don't overthink it. Just go out and play your game.
I think that's the key, is being able to match, when, maybe not score for score, but in terms of the explosives. I think, we'll talk about defense here in a bit, but something I thought was interesting was, so much has been made about the USC defensive line, and it is improved. They have 19 team sacks on the season. Only 3 of those in their last 2 games, though. They had 2 against Michigan State, who I don't think has a very good offensive line, and they had 1 against Illinois. So maybe racking up some of those sack numbers early when you play a Missouri State and I think they played Georgia Southern and Purdue in their opener. The protection's everything for them. Now, you hope that they're able to, if this is the USC kind of team that we have come to know over the last few years, you hope they don't straight up abandon the run, because I think one of the best things you can do for your defense is keeping them off the field by sustaining those drives. But if they're gonna zig and throw a lot of resources at stopping the Michigan run game, you'd hope to see that Michigan could take advantage of the shot, maybe some shots down the field, maybe some of the tight end, a little more tight end usage, maybe even getting the backs involved in the passing game. You just want to see them be able to kind of dial up whatever they want and move the football that way. I think Illinois did that in that game that we saw a couple weeks ago. It's all, like you said, Chris, I think it's all going to come down to protection, because if the tackles specifically are able to keep Bryce Underwood clean, I see this going very well for Michigan. But I have questions about that right now.
And it's interesting you mentioned the resources towards stopping the run, and USC pretty much runs the same system as Michigan, given that Danton Lynn, comes from the Ravens background, and they don't really want to load the box much. They want to play with the lighter box. They want to have just a couple defensive tackles out there, a couple edges, a nickel on the field with 2 middle linebackers. And, Joel Klatt was talking about that a lot throughout the Illinois game, that they're just, Illinois was able to own them up front, and USC didn't really adjust. Now, we saw them adjust a little bit towards the end of last year's Michigan-USC game, and then once your guys come closer to the line of scrimmage and Kalel Mullings breaks a tackle or two, there's nobody there. So it's a fine line, but it seems like they want to try to stop the run without dedicating those resources, which means to me that Jordan Marshall will have opportunities to deliver some body blows, that Justice Haynes will do the same thing. And tackling for USC seems to be an issue. There was the screen pass against Illinois. I think it might have gotten called back, but I think it went 68 yards, where it's just a simple screen to the running back, and he has all sorts of room. The DBs just were not getting off any blocks. They're engaged for 3-4 seconds as the guy's blowing past them. And so if Michigan's going to test them, I think in the screen game, Chip Lindsey has made that pretty clear with the way he's called games in the past. He's going to make those DBs get off of blocks quickly, make a play in space. That could be something that Michigan goes to, I think, in this game. And Anthony, you mentioned it. The way USC has racked up some of these counting stats defensively with the sacks, top 10 in the country in sacks, top 10 in the country in TFLs. Their pressure rate is 43.2%. That's 6th in the country, but it wasn't there. I think 22% pressure rate against Illinois, and that's a bad Illinois offensive line. That's really the weak spot on their entire team right now. It's the reason why they don't have a better record, and the reason why they lost by 60. I think, how many sacks did Indiana have against them? So I think 8 or 9, but it's going to be a different challenge. I think Michigan's tackles need to improve. Maybe it was good that Andrew Sprague had that game so he can really, focus this week on correcting some of those mistakes. Now that it's on film, now that you're getting embarrassed in the film room and in front of the rest of your teammates and all those things. But I think it's going to be really interesting. The line of scrimmage could determine this thing. But anything else on the Michigan offense?
No, hopefully Sprague was like battling a stomach bug or something like that, because he looked like a different player, guys. It's hard to explain when you're watching the film. He'd been pretty solid up to then, and then all of a sudden, boom. So maybe it's just one of those things. Maybe he had some girl trouble or something like that. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see what happens with all that. I just think that Michigan's offensive line, you don't want to make it too simple in terms of the keys of the game, but if those guys do their jobs and protect, I don't see why Michigan can't get almost whatever it wants offensively. We hope some of the drop issues are behind them, but you gotta, in games like this, you gotta make those plays when they materialize. And that's, it seems like we're going to see more of Donovan McCulley, more of Andrew Marsh, and that's going to be those guys making plays is everything. I like, the more that I sort of have dove into this throughout the week, I like how this matches up for them. I really do.
And we're just waiting for the Michigan offense to kind of click for 60 minutes. Like, you're not going to score on every drive, but it's just been a little bit clunky. Like Nebraska, you didn't quite get the aerial attack going. You missed a few opportunities, had some drops. Wisconsin, you had some short yardage issues. You had some drop issues. It just didn't feel like you got in a rhythm. The Oklahoma game was what it was. Against a Power 4 opponent, you haven't quite proven that you can put together 4 quarters of really good football. This is a chance to do it on the road. And you're seeing improvement in some areas as well. So Michigan can get there. At USC, I think a big focus over their bye week was figuring out how they can stop the run. So they're certainly going to come out with adjustments. They're not just going to concede that they're going to be allowing all that success on the ground week after week. So we'll see if they can make some improvements too. And then it's all the adjustments off of that. But let's talk about the Michigan defense against the USC offense, which has a decent amount of firepower. And before we do, we have to talk about Game Time, our sponsors. Football season's back. Tailgating season is back. Take the stress out of buying tickets with Game Time. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of the Wolverine podcast. It's the best place to buy tickets. And the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. West Coast Michigan fans, go out to the game this weekend. If you don't have your tickets, get them on Game Time. They have the lowest price guarantee, or they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ON3. That's ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. USC offense is pretty dynamic. Skill positions very good. Jaden Mayava, the quarterback, is off to a really good start to the season. Took over last year at the end of the season for Miller Moss as the starter. Maybe they scapegoated Miller Moss a little bit, but Jaden Mayava looks like he's been an upgrade, at least so far. He leads the country in a lot of different stats. Total QBR, yards per attempt at 11.4. He's completed 70.5% of his passes for 1,587 yards, 11 touchdowns, just one interception. Pretty bad one over the middle of the field against the Illini. 57 yards, 4 touchdowns on 20 carries. He's only taken 3 sacks. They use him in the rushing game at the goal line. All 4 of his touchdowns coming from in close. So something to watch for there. But pretty legit running back, Wayman Jordan, who they lose Woody Marks, who's doing pretty well, I think, for the Houston Texans, and get this JUCO kid who's been pretty dynamic. And they rotate the running backs, but Mekhi Lemon is probably the headliner on this offense at wide receiver. An absolute dude. Leads the Big Ten in receptions with 35, receiving yards with 589. He's tied 4th in the country with 5 touchdown catches. Last year had 764 yards, 3 scores. This dude is dynamic and somebody that the Michigan corners are going to have to be aware of. But your guys' initial thoughts on this USC offense?
Number one, don't let the ball over your head. They're going to try some double moves. They're going to try going on the deep ball. Do not give up the big play. I want to see Rod Moore out there for more than 18 or 21 plays. This is a game where if he's healthy, then put him out there for 40 plays or something like that, because they are going to need him back there to direct some traffic. They're going to take their shots. They're going to get some game. They're going to get some gains in the passing game. Watching that Wisconsin game, and I'm about to write this in a column, guys. They were talking about tackling on that first drive, and it really wasn't. They were hats on hats where Wisconsin was really moving that line of scrimmage, and Michigan started adjusting by bringing the linebacker downhill closer to the ball, doing some run blitzing, and took that aspect away and said, okay, beat us with the pass then. They couldn't, but guess who can? USC can. So you're hoping that this defensive line, which isn't last year's line or the year before, and it's not going to be, you're hoping that they can have a really good game here. They were fought to a standstill or worse against Oklahoma. I expect them to be a little bit better against USC, but if they have time to throw, then they're going to make some plays. That's just the way it is. So I expect a higher scoring game because of it. I believe that if they don't give up those big plays, if they can force a few field goals and kind of treat it like those Ohio State games in the past, right? Knowing that they're going to get their yardage, but if you can hold them to field goals and then match them offensively, you're going to have a chance to win this football game. I think that's going to be the key here.
Yeah, Mayav is really good. You go through and you look at some of his passing splits. I mean, on the deep ball this year, which is throws of 20 or more air yards, 16 of 23, 580 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's like, we talk about Pro Football Focus grades. He's blue in that category. He's in the deep blue. Like, that's elite, high level stuff from him. So like you said, the coverage is being intact, not letting your guys get beat deep. That's a huge key for them in this game. I think over the middle of the field, he's a little more mortal and seems like a little bit uncomfortable. I don't want to say he's an all or nothing quarterback, but a lot of his production has come on some of those short passes and then those deep shots down the field. So Michigan got to make them uncomfortable, make them make some reads. make some big time throws. That's going to be a key for them. You want to try and make them as one dimensional as possible. They have been able to run the football, but this is the best non-Ohio State passing game that they will see all year. Oklahoma was very, very good. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that John Mateer had the ability to scramble and make plays alive, or keep plays alive, and make some of those big time throws. Maeva, he's darn good, and I've seen him pop up on a few mock drafts, in the last couple of weeks as maybe a potential first rounder next spring. So it's a huge test for them. I think the Michigan defense, it's traveled in those 2 road games they've played so far. We talked about those gotta have it drives where they needed to be better at Oklahoma. I think that's improved somewhat. At Nebraska, a couple wonky sequences, but for the most part, really good step in the right direction for them there. So I do see that they're going to get got a few times. Michigan's offense is going to have to score because I think USC is going to score on their defense a bit, but forcing a big turnover or you get off the field on a 3rd down. This is all pretty basic, keys to the game football type of stuff, but it's the same recipe as some of those Ohio State wins you've had the last couple of years. It's the same recipe as, the national title game against Washington, where they have a lot of firepower and you just need to get off in a key situation or force a kick where maybe they were hoping to score a touchdown. That's what this looks like to me.
Yeah, and it's just tough because I think this receiving core puts a lot of pressure on you. If you want to focus on Mekhi Lemon, there's Jacoby Lane, who's a big-bodied 6'4" wide receiver who had 12 touchdowns last year. You have to deal with him. I think he's been a little banged up, but I think the bye week would be big for a guy like that. Lake McCree, their tight end, who's having a really big year, already has more receiving yards this season than he did all of last year. It seems to be a favorite target. The one thing that's interesting about Jaden Maeva is he only has the 1 pick this year. He's taking care of the ball pretty well. They haven't been challenged by great defenses yet, and Illinois is probably the best they faced. He throws an interception there. He knows where to go with it. He's pretty accurate. He kind of floats that ball. He doesn't have a lot of zip on it. And I don't know if he doesn't have the arm strength or if he just kind of – it's almost the opposite of Bryce Underwood. It's a really catchable ball, but there's some time for these DBs to close in on it. I wouldn't be surprised if Rod Moore gets another pick this week based on the chances he takes into some tight windows with, again, a really catchable football, but could be catchable for Rod Moore as well. But the Michigan DBs have to be on their stuff in this game. They have to have a goldfish type of memory where you just line it back up if you get beat and get the stop the next time. Like to both your guys' point about the red zone, they may get down there via a big play, but then you have to line it back up and hold them to a field goal. And you got to pressure this guy as well. He hasn't seen a ton of pressure this year, hasn't been as good under pressure like any quarterback wouldn't be. But if you can rattle him and kind of take him out of his rhythm, like I felt like they did with Dylan Raiola a decent amount, who hadn't been pressured at all before Michigan faced him. And then once he saw all that pass rush, had a good game himself, but there were some misses in there forced by the Michigan pressure in the pass rush. So we'll see if they can do that. USC offensive line, worth noting on that topic, is banged up. Elijah Page, their left tackle, who had a rough time last year with the Wolverines, is dealing with a nagging injury. It's possible he returns, according to Lincoln Riley this week. They've done some shuffling there. The right tackle moved over to left. The left guard moved over to right tackle. Their starting center, Killian O'Connor, is out multiple weeks as well. They do have Jean-Ray Reed, who started 25 games over the last 2 years at Syracuse. So pretty capable backup, but not the guy who won the job coming out of fall camp. So some moving pieces there, maybe an opportunity for Michigan. It feels like they're facing a lot of O-lines that are shuffling pieces and banged up this year, and Michigan's is too. So a lot of offensive lines dealing with that, but we'll see if the D-line can get after them a little bit. Should we do our predictions?
Let's go.
Let's do it. And they're brought to you by BetMGM. The Wolverine has teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. This week, it's go for the end zone without breaking a sweat with a Pro Football No Sweat token. You'll get your stake back in bonus bets if you don't win. When you bet BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to a $1,500 bonus bet if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. And on BetMGM, like we said at the top, Michigan is a 2.5-point underdog, over under 57.5. I will start us off with my offensive player of the game, who I think is going to have a big day offensively. And it's a guy who probably should be getting more Heisman hype, and that would be Justice Haynes. I think that there are going to be some lanes for him to run. There's going to be some green grass for him to run towards. And guys like Max Bredesen and the wideouts and the guys on the edges, could determine if they get a block out there, he could go the distance.
He's my guy too. I think he's going to have another 100-yard game. So I think it was Blake Corum had 8 in a row, if I'm not mistaken, they were talking about. But nobody's ever had 5 in a row to start their career 100-yard games. I don't think anybody had 4 in a row, to be honest with you. So
that's the transfer portal era for you.
That is the transfer portal era for you. But Justice Haynes is an elite back. He really is. Got that speed. I think he's going to have a big day. I think you're going to see him break some big runs. I'm looking for maybe 150 yards for him in this game, guys.
I'm going to go with the young freshman quarterback, Bryce Underwood. Went back and watched that Illinois game. Luke Altmaier was 20 for 26, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 5 carries for 28 yards and a touchdown on the ground. I feel like he's done a lot to grow up without the box score numbers being super impressive, although we've been impressed by how many of his passes he completed last week, even with the drops. It was almost 70%. I just feel like they'll get him out using his legs more. I think that they've found something to hang their hat on, the 2 wide receiver spots. As long as Michigan protects, they're going to get whatever they want offensively, and I think this will be Bryce Underwood's best game so far.
Anthony, start us off with your defensive player of the game as well.
I get first pick, so I'm going to take the most obvious one in the world. It's Rod Moore. It's his ability to get these guys lined up where they need to be, get some of those coverages sorted out. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if he did have his second pick in a row in this game. So give me Rod Moore.
I'm going to go with Jayshon Barham. I think especially if they're banged up a little bit up front, maybe getting a little bit of pressure in there. These guys are getting held, tackled. It's clear that there's something's going on because they don't get holding calls anymore. Somebody said there was something on Twitter, and I don't know if this is true or not, 18 straight games without Michigan drawing a holding penalty by an offense. I don't know if that's true, but I do know they haven't drawn one this year, so which is absurd. And but I do think he's going to pressure, and I do think that Barham is going to be the guy that, if Michigan wins this football game, is going to have a big day, and I think he will.
I do know. I'm trying to think back to any holding calls I remember. I do remember last year, every time you thought there was going to be one, it was hands to the face.
Right.
We haven't seen that this year yet, but it feels like even at times when there's holding, they don't make the correct call, even when they do call something. That was last season. But I'm going to go with Zeke Berry, Michigan's corner, who I didn't think played very well, and he agreed with that, talking to the media on Tuesday night. Said he had a lot of plays that he wanted to have back, missed tackle, got beaten coverage once as well. Coming back to his home state, I think he is going to have a big impact on this game one way or the other, given the dynamic receiving core. He's looking forward to this matchup. So I'm going to go with Zeke Berry. I think getting him back healthy last week, getting him comfortable, putting some things on film like, oh, shoot, I didn't do that. I haven't played in a few weeks. I didn't do that well. And then being able to correct those mistakes might be something that he can do. Chris, who is your X factor?
It's funny you say that, because Zeke Berry is my X factor. Okay. They need a second corner to step up against these elite receivers. Jair Hill, I'm still not 100% sold on him, but he's had a pretty good year, and now he's getting this really, really big test. but they need that number 2 guy to step up. That's Zeke Berry. So Zeke's got to have a good game. Jaden Sanders as well. I think this is going to be the biggest test yet for the freshman if he plays a lot in the secondary. But Zeke's the guy that's really got to have a good game to help keep this USC offense in check.
I'm going to go on the offense side of the ball. I'm going to go with Andrew Marsh. We'll see if he can put together 2 strong weeks in a row, but he just kind of looks the part out there of a solid, reliable college football wide receiver. So I'm going to go with him.
I'm going to go with the tight ends on either side. We'll see if Hogan Hansen returns for the Michigan offense, but Marlon Klein, I think you can get him going more. And then how does Michigan stop Lake McCree and the USC tight ends who have been really good? And I think Michigan's linebackers in coverage haven't been – they've left a little bit to be desired or a lot to be desired. So how do they adjust to that? Last week, I thought part of a lot of Wisconsin's success, just throwing those dump downs in the middle of the field, was Michigan just wanting to get pressure and blitz, and that left some area in the middle of the field for them to find a receiver. I don't know that Michigan's going to blitz as much, so that could help. But I think the tight ends on either side could have a big, could be an X factor here. I'll go with my final score in this game. I got Michigan winning 30-23. Tough one to pick because of all the elements that go into this. Going out west, history's not on their side, but does it really matter? They're going out early. What is USC at this point? They're coming off a bye. Are they going to be sluggish? Are they going to be firing on all cylinders and correct some of the things that went wrong against Illinois? I'm not sure what's going to happen, but that's going to be my pick for now.
Yeah, this is their season after having one Big Ten loss, and just the venue going out there. I've been going back and forth. 2 weeks ago, I would have picked Michigan to win this game. I think USC wins 31-27, and a little bit higher scoring affair, and disappointing, but it's not the end of the season for Michigan if they do. I know people get pissed off when I pick against Michigan. I just go with my gut. It's not like we're not cheerleaders here. We got to go with how we feel. We're going to be wrong sometimes. We're going to be right sometimes. Hopefully I'm wrong again this time. I did pick them to lose to Nebraska. I think Nebraska has proven to be a fraud. But I think USC is a better team than that, especially at home.
Looking forward to the Fraud Bowl in a few weeks between USC and Nebraska because Michigan's going to jump on USC a little bit early. USC is going to counterpunch. It's going to be a tight game. I have Michigan winning 31-30. Dominic Zvada walks them off.
Wow. I love it. And he's due as well. And so is the snap and hold have to be good as well, but got to get that corrected. And we know he's capable of making those clutch kicks. Let's get into No Man Knows the Future. Our final segment will pick college football games. Hard to believe it's already week 7 in college football. Last week, Chris Ballas, 3-1. Anthony Broom, 3-1. Myself, 2-2. Didn't have I'll take 500 after what I think I went 0-4 the week previous. Chris still leading in the standings. Anthony creeping his way back up as well. So let's get into it. Number 1, Ohio State at number 17, Illinois. Ohio State's a 14.5-point favorite. Over-under is 49.5. This game noon on Fox. I'll start us off with my pick on the Buckeyes. It's a lot of points, especially on the road. I just think that Ohio State defense is so good right now that I don't know how many points they're going to allow, 14, 10, something like that, and that they win and cover this 14.5.
Yeah, me too. Complimentary football. They're playing extremely well, and they aren't going to be tested for a while, actually, by a good defense. So Illinois, I thought, got exposed by Indiana. I think Ohio State wins this one going away.
My gut wants to make me be different, but I think this Ohio State team is really close to having its fastball, and they've been very good the last couple of weeks. But yeah, give me Ohio State. I just think they're about to start rolling.
We're all on the Buckeyes. Number 8, Alabama at number 14, Missouri. Alabama's a 3-point favorite. Over under is 51.5. This game also noon, but on ABC. Alabama starting to hit their stride here. Anthony, start us off. We'll go the other way around on this one.
I'm going to go with Alabama here. The loss to Florida State wasn't good, but the only way that you rebound from that is to just keep winning, and they've done a pretty good job of that thus far. This isn't Nick Saban's Alabama where they're clinical and every week you can pretty much count on them to handle their business, but I do think Alabama will take care of business in this game and cover the 3-point spread.
I agree. They're tested. They played some big games this year. Obviously, the environment's not going to phase them. Having beaten Georgia, I'd like Alabama in this game, probably by 10 points, believe it or not.
Yeah, I got Alabama as well. I think they're proving that they're a different team than they were a year ago. Last year, they beat Georgia and then follow that up with the loss to Vanderbilt. This year, they beat Georgia. They followed up with a convincing win over Vanderbilt, a better Vanderbilt team probably. Now they go on the road, and I think that they're going to get a win there and cover the 3 points.
I'll just say this. If Ty Simpson was named Ty Manning, they'd be talking about him as the Heisman favorite right now.
I saw a clip, someone talking about that too. It's possible. He's playing really good football right now. So that Alabama team, they may win it all, right? Everyone counted them out. You lose to Florida State, but you have mulligans in this era.
Yeah. Kalen DeBoer is a good head coach, no matter what Alabama fans think.
He is. Number 7, Indiana, at number 3, Oregon. Excited for this one. Oregon, a 7.5-point favorite. Over-under is 55.5. 3:30 on CBS, so it'll take you into the Michigan game on NBC later on. I will start with my pick of Indiana to stay within 7.5. I think this Indiana team's pretty legit. I think Oregon's going to win the game. I love Dante Moore. He might be the best quarterback in the country, and this will be a huge game for him as well. I love Indiana's offense. I think they'll get slowed down a little bit by this Oregon defense. Dan Lanning's a great defensive mind, but I got Indiana staying within the number.
I don't. At Oregon, I think the spread was 10 at one point, if I'm not mistaken, and it's come down. Maybe that was just one of those goofy Sunday spreads, that doesn't really, if you get it, you're lucky. But on DraftKings or something, one of the worst apps, I guess. I can't really. Am I supposed to even mention their name anymore, Clay? I don't know how this works.
I don't even know who you talking
about. So anyway, I like Oregon to win this game going away by 14. I think Indiana is very well coached. They've got some players, but when they play against elite teams, as we saw last year, the elite teams generally win and take care of business. I like Oregon.
Dan Lanning runs the type of program where, and he probably has no love in his heart for Brett Bielema in Illinois, but he'll find some way to feel slighted by the fact that they put up 66 on Illinois a couple weeks ago. And I honestly would not be surprised if they won this game like 42-14 or something. So I'm going with Oregon.
Could make Clay really, really foolish next week if they do.
It would, but I already am foolish. It wouldn't change much. The Red River Shootout. I'll call it that. I'll go there. Mm-hmm. It's the shootout. Number 6, Oklahoma at Texas, but not really neutral field. So I don't know why I wrote that down. But Texas, 1.5-point favorite. Over-unders 42.5. 3:30 on ABC. So a really good 3:30 slate. John Mateer is pushing to play. Brent Venables says he hasn't done any good on good work. You have to do that to play. That was early in the week, though. We'll see. Doubt he goes, but I'm sure if he had it his way, he would. I got Oklahoma. I really like their defense. I don't know what the offense is going to be without Mateer. They're banged up at wide receiver now. Keontez Lewis is out. But I still just trust that this is a better team. They're going to win the game. But Texas, I don't know.
Yeah, Texas is a fraud. Let's just call it like it is, right? And I guess they're not even a fraud because they're not even ranked anymore, right? Are they? So
no.
But I do like Oklahoma too, and I think Mateer's going to play. I think you're going to see him in this game, and I think Oklahoma takes care of business. I think that's a really good defensive football team. Texas is going to have a hard time moving the ball.
Yeah, I'm kind of stunned that Texas is favored, John Mateer or not. I lean towards John Mateer not playing only because, one, in the grand scheme of things, Oklahoma can take a loss because they are 5-0. But this is their stretch run. They played South Carolina next week. That's a tough game. But they got number 4 Ole Miss, number 12 Tennessee, number 8 Alabama, number 14 Missouri, number 11 LSU the rest of the way. You need John Mateer. You want to beat Texas because you want to shove it up your rival's rear end. But I don't think he's going to play. But I do think that Oklahoma will still win anyways.
I hope he gets this chance to play. He's from Texas. He's probably going to go to the draft after this year. He's dying to get out there. So that'll be interesting. Everyone's already on John Mateer watch this week and could get himself back in the Heisman race there, or at least, get back to front runner status. So we'll see. Should be a good weekend of college football. Michigan at USC. We'll have you covered at thewolverine.com. Use the promo code UM1. That will get you in for 2 months of premium access on our message board behind the paywall on all the articles for just $1, 50 cents a month over the next 2 months using the promo code UM1. Like the video if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and we will see everyone next time.